Welcome back to Digibros.
Welcome back. We're in the forest temple.
Right after I just gave my rant at the end of the last episode about how you should all use emulators and fuck consoles.
They're just as bad.
Right after I said that, like the controller plugin crashed, and like literally as I finished the rant, the controller plugin crashed, and Victor was like, "I can't move, I'm freaking out." And I had to like I was just like, wow, this kind of, it doesn't matter what you use. Video games are a broken medium. It's just impossible.
Except for the 3DS.
You can't play video games. Fuck the 3DS and its goddamn 3D bullshit. I can't look at that shit. It makes my eyes bleed.
Anyways, your ridiculously long rant took a lot of energy out of me. We're in the forest temple.
Yeah.
This is the first temple where you have to think a little bit.
My rant had only gone on for so long because you kept distracting me and I would forget where I was.
No, that was a long rant without my distractions. That was a very extensive rant.
It was like 20 minutes of straight ranting about consoles.
Alright, blocks.
I got into my full, like, irate,
Moving
filthy
blocks.
Frank mode of thought there.
I like the sensation of moving blocks in this game.
Dude, the sensation of
I love everything in this. That's really what it comes down to.
It's all kinesthetic, man. That's what makes this game so perfect to me.
Kinesthesis.
And I don't think any 3D Zelda game, except maybe Majora's Mask, feels as good as this one.
I don't know.
Cause like,
feels pretty good to me.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Play the other
feels
ones.
the best.
That's what I mean. But I mean all of them.
Like, Wind Waker feels really good, but it also has this weird like tracking where when you're running forward, you kind of steer Link like a motorcycle. Like he like stays on a forward trajectory. So if you like start pressing to the right, Link runs forward and right, and it's like very hard to make him change direction.
Yeah.
Whereas in this game, he responds like exactly to what you input pretty much. You know, like there's very little delay on it. And then Twilight Princess does the same thing that the Wind Waker does, but then everything's just like really stiff in that game, and I don't know why. Like when you slash your sword, you like stop where you're like you stop moving and slash, and it just feels awkward to me. And that's like the #1 thing that bothers me playing Twilight Princess, like even on the GameCube version, is that it's just like it just feels so sticky. Whereas this game feels like so loose, and it like immediately interprets your commands and just does what you want it to do. And then Skyward Sword is just like, why this? So to me, that is the reason Ocarina of Time is still my favorite Zelda game, is that it feels the best to play. Whereas like, if the Wind Waker felt as good as Ocarina of Time, and if the world was more varied instead of like, you sail to a million islands and all of them are exactly the fucking same, then that would easily take over. Because the art design, the world, the soundtrack, everything about that game is like totally me. Like it's totally my style. I love the bright colors. I love the folk music, you know. Like I said before, I literally put on the soundtrack to the Wind Waker, and within like 10 seconds I was like, oh right, the Wind Waker is the greatest game of all time. Yeah. Just from hearing.
It's just, it's so good. The music is really just nothing fucking compares.
That is from the Wind Waker, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I get my folksy soundtracks
like the fucking
confused. The Spice and Wolf soundtrack.
Whoever makes this shit is like the Yoko Kanno of video games. Like, just fucking amazing.
The only thing I don't like about Zelda soundtracks is that when you actually go to listen to them, they're always like 2.5 hours long, and it's every piece of music. Yeah. So, you know, sometimes you hear like 2 minutes of that iconic tune you absolutely love.
I mean, that's why you gotta listen to like the orchestrated. Yeah,
but I don't really like
that's a good
orchestrated stuff as much as I like normal stuff, though. What I'd rather do is, because I've never downloaded any of these, I just listen to them on YouTube. Yeah. I'd rather just download all the Zelda soundtracks and just pull out all my favorite songs and make an album out of that, and I could probably deal with that. Because when you get to like battle songs like this, not enjoyable on its own.
Definitely. Shit. I just fucking did this temple with my cousin like a year ago. and we had gotten stuck at this part where you're looking for that key, and I'm trying not to like make the same mistake of wandering around looking for it.
I remember getting stuck here when I played on live stream. Then again, I got stuck everywhere when I played on live.
Yeah.
I think the only temple that I had like
I don't know why I can never remember this temple well. Like,
I had a weirdly easy time with the fire temple, which like I know is usually confusing, but I just kind of like burned through it without even thinking. But like, this temple and the water temple gave me pause for sure.
Yeah.
Blah 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 blah. You know, the Wind Waker might be the only game where the water temple's like not the biggest pain in the ass. I would say it was the wind temple, like the wind and earth temple.
Well, you haven't played Twilight Princess. The water temple's cool in that one. In the 3DS version, the water temple's cool in
The worst water temple.
I'm sure Majora's Mask is pretty cool. I haven't gotten to it yet.
The worst water temple is definitely. No, I've heard the one in Majora's Mask is also a pain in the ass. All the water temples are a pain in the ass. Like it's just like it's a commonly known fact.
Yeah.
But the worst one is in fucking the Minish Cap.
Oh god.
That one is fucking infuriating.
Really?
Because it's an ice temple, but like whereas in this game you have like the ice cavern and you slide around and shit and it's kind of a pain in the ass because of the fucking rotating spike things and shit like that. But in the Minish Cap, you just have like so little control over where you're sliding that it's infuriating. It's easily it's like the only blemish on that game. I love that game, but that fucking temple is a huge pain in the ass.
Yeah.
I don't know where I am or who I am.
I gotta kill these guys.
So, you've been playing Majora's Mask.
Yes.
How's that been?
It's been very good.
You've never played it before.
Well, I've played
You've
it
never
shittily
played
before.
more than half an hour.
I never got to the first temple.
Right. But now you've been saying like that it's
fucking wonderful.
Like once you got into it, you were like, oh my god, this is true Zelda.
It is a masterpiece.
Do you think it might be better than Ocarina of Time?
I have to beat it before I make any judgments.
I've still never played Majora's Mask, and I consider it a grave sin on my part.
Actually, I want to mention where I got stuck before when I was playing with my cousin was literally our cousin. I don't know why I say my cousin, but that spider right there. I thought I had to kill it with an arrow, but you just have to walk past it fast enough to get through.
Right.
And that was where we got stuck.
I think I
a
made
million
the same
times because we didn't think we could get past the spider, and we just wandered and just were so lost. It's like the beginning of the temple. The rest of it's like totally simple from there on out. Anyway, what were you saying about Majora's Mask?
I've never played it.
Yeah.
Even though it's the most, I'd say it's the most acclaimed Zelda game when it comes to like the kind of critics I follow. Like without a doubt, Ocarina of Time is the most overall like critically acclaimed. Although if you went for like how it was reviewed when it came out, I actually think Skyward Sword might have been the best review.
Whoa.
That game was like unbelievably well reviewed in spite of a lot of people have problems with it. So weird to think about. But like in terms of like people who are like analytical doing videos and writing on it, it's always been Majora's Mask that gets praised the most. And I believe that's what Matthew Matosis said was his favorite in his epic 5-part series. So I really look forward to playing it, but I've always been afraid because it sounds stressful because of...
It's not. That's what I really thought, but then...
Well, like, I don't mean... Okay, I don't think it's stressful to do the main story, but, like, when you get into all the side quests and shit, they're like, the time restriction is a lot more like...
But it's
you
fun.
Need to do it
That's
way.
what makes it really fun. Is that you have to remember, what days things are going to happen on. You can reset the timer whenever you want. So it's like... And it makes that challenge of doing things in a proper order and like trying to think about what you need to do next and where you need to go when the first day starts, and that makes it really interesting. I thought that was going to be stressful, but it wasn't the way I thought it was.
I definitely think because of the fact, God, I keep saying I definitely think. I'm so fucking sick of hearing myself say that. I gotta like train my brain to just stop saying that phrase. Anyways, that game the fact that I don't think you can fail, like, to do everything is what saves it for me. Because, like, I can't deal with fucking, like, all the Japanese RPGs where it's like you have to play through the game 6 fucking times and then you might... It's one thing if it's like you play through it 2 or 3 times, but you'll definitely get everything if you do.
Yeah.
Like, you pick this choice instead of that choice, you get the other ending. Or you play through it twice, you get a second ending. That I can kind of deal with. I'm like, okay, maybe I'll play through it twice one day. I probably won't, but, you know, maybe it'll happen. But if it's like there's multiple options and there's a chance you're going to fail at it, then I'm just like, you know, fuck it. I don't care. You know? Like a Disgaea game where there's like 20 endings. Fuck that, you know.
You had to do that one specific thing on that one level to change the whole course of the ending.
Not up for it. I don't engage with games on that level. As per my trying to beat games that I own, I was waiting for Xenosaga to download and it was taking too long, so I downloaded Lapicel Tactics, which is another game I have, which is like the precursor to Disgaea, and it's pretty okay, but it's like it's a tactics game, and I have that immediate sense where I'm like, there's gonna be a point in this game where it gets harder than I'm willing to play.
Yeah.
You know? Which happens with every, like, any hard game. It's an Atlas game. I mean, they don't develop it. It's Nippon Ichi. I guess it's not even Atlas.
You have to be really into the system of the game to, like, want to
exactly. And it's like, there's no... I'm going to play it until it gets... Because I've never played Lapicel for more than, like, 2 hours before. You know, I've owned it for 10 years. So, I'm going to play it up until that point. Like, I want to get as much out of it as I can. But I know that there's going to come a point where that happens.
I mean, isn't this fucking room cool as shit? Like, the twisted corridors in this game?
Yeah, that is pretty sweet.
They're fucking awesome.
And the reason I know that is that it's a game where it's got 12 chapters total, right? And the first chapter is like a tutorial. And it's got the system where there's like there'll be like this little portal on the ground, and it's got like an energy beam that shoots forward in one direction, right?
Yeah.
And if you position a character in that beam and then have them face a certain direction, the beam changes direction to face where the character's facing. So you can basically create like a matrix of your characters pointing this beam around. And then when you when you use one of your priestess characters to like purify that portal, then it everywhere that the beam is hitting gets damaged, right? And then it goes away. And if you create a closed circle with the beam, then it will like just eradicate everything inside that circle, right? So it's a pretty deep and interesting
how fucked up
system.
is this I'm sorry I'm interrupting you again, but it's like I keep going down this path, and then every time I get to a locked door, and then I'm like, wow, now I have to go explore the rest of the dungeon for the key to unlock this door, because I didn't know I needed another key until I got to this point.
That's what's cool about these games. That's what I
it's
like
very
about
interesting.
Zelda, is that you
Versus
find...
like, yep, fuck you need to go back and keep exploring this dungeon because
I'll
you
never
didn't
understand,
check it out far
like,
enough.
People complaining about backtracking doesn't make any sense to me, because to me,
it makes
it's
the dungeon
all about
memorable.
memorizing
it's like,
the dungeon. It's about knowing the layout, you know. But anyways, fuck, what was I talking about? Lapicel. You create these like intricate webs of like you know moving around these beams and shit. And I in the first like tutorial dungeon, which is like 3 hours long, it's like a lot of levels. There would always be like all these fucking portals around, and I'm like, all right, well I'm gonna try to like make intricate shit and try to like kill enemies with that, right? Like thinking, you know, that's how you do it tactically. But I just could not figure out like how to use the things well in any of the stages. And usually I could just like way more easily just kill the enemy.
Yeah.
And I was like, one of two things is possible. Either I'm taking these portals way too seriously and they're not as big a deal, especially in these early stages, as I think, or I just have no idea what the fuck I'm doing, right? And I can tell it's gonna get to a point where I'm gonna get to a level where I really need to strategize and know my
skulls.
shit.
Oh my god, this thing's gonna kill me.
And I'm not gonna know my shit.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna give up, you know? And I know it's coming. So, yeah.
Fuck.
Then the same thing will happen in every other JRPG I play. unless it's one of those that's like, I don't know, if I can get like, when I was in like 2005, I got to the final boss of Shadow Heart's Covenant, which is a really interesting turn-based game where it's got like a wheel when you use an attack, and if you hit, like, if you time your button presses on the wheel, it does more damage. It's very cool. It's similar to Mario RPG, but a little bit more in depth, and with a lot more, just a lot more challenging and interesting. And I'd love to play it again. But I reached the final boss when I was younger, and it's one of those where you can play through the whole game, but the final boss you need to grind.
Yeah.
To beat him, you know? And at the time, I wasn't willing to do that, but it's such an interesting game, and like, and I want to know what else happens.
No way. Fuck.
Like, it wasn't just like you had to grind. There was lots of like side quests and shit that you could do, and I hadn't done the side quests. So that I could see doing. Whereas Persona 2, I got to the final boss in that, and I just gave up.
Yeah.
It was Persona with Atlas games, typically you get to the end and then the ramp in difficulty is to the point where, like, if you want to beat the game, you need to master absolutely everything.
Yeah. And
the combat system was just not fucking worth it in Persona 2. Like, around halfway through that game, I started getting tired of it, and then by the time I was at the last dungeon, I was at the end of my rope. And the funny thing is, the whole last dungeon is super hard, but you can, like, if you know your way around the dungeon, you can get to the final boss in, like, minutes. Like, you can just bypass the entire dungeon, because it was, like, it was the kind of thing where you had to, like, memorize a certain pattern. Oh, what happened? Failed to load word? That's it for this episode of Digibros.
Yay!